Good evening. You're watching London Tonight.
Between now and 6:30, we'll have the very latest on all the developing stories in the capital. And here are the headlines.
What caused the fires? Hundreds of London taxis are called in for inspection, but should it have happened sooner?
Tributes to one of the two sisters found murdered in a flat in Birmingham. Friends and teachers of Sabrina Labi Sharif describe her as an ideal student.
Meet the little girl who lost her arms and legs through meningitis, who's walked to school for the first time.
Hi, I'm Pamela Anderson. You're going to be watching me hopefully later on London Tonight. I'll be talking about my new show, Pam Girl on the Loose, Capital Loose.
Our top story tonight, another black cab has burst into flames, prompting Transport for London to immediately ban the faulty taxis from London's streets. Last night's blaze took hold in just 45 seconds and left the taxi gutted.
Yesterday, the manufacturers, LTI, told us that they were recalling a total of 600 taxis because of safety fears. They were to be examined within 10 days. Today, however, they were told to step it up a gear.
So hundreds of taxis are right now being given safety checks in garages across London. But crucially, the mechanics still don't know what's causing the fires, and the cabbies are worried they won't get any answers.
Most of them will be covered for their loss of earnings by their insurance. But those we've spoken to are asking how they can guarantee their passengers will be safe in the future. Here's Phil Bales with the latest.
A fireball in less than a minute. Another taxi bursts into flames near Regent's Park last night.
When I arrived, the vehicle had obviously caught fire. It was in a severe burnt out state. It was looked to me to be a complete write-off.
Justin Snedden's TX4 burned on Friday. He's hired a cab so he can work. His own was destroyed at 4 in the morning near Stringfellows.
Within a minute of that happening, the flames were, shooting meters up into the air, and there was a tree next to it. I thought if that catches, a building catches, I was really starting to panic. From sitting in the car to not being able to go near it was literally about 60 seconds. Very, very fast.
At least 7 cabs have now burst into flames in London. All have 56 number plates and were built by the Midlands-based company London Taxis International. 600 must be checked by engineers, a long process underway at these workshops near King's Cross, where queues quickly built up. The thing cabbies hate most is sitting in a taxi rank, going nowhere, the meter not running. What's particularly annoying about this queue, it's hardly in a typical day's work. These cabbies wait patiently, their livelihood put on hold by a design fault that could be fatal. They can only speculate on what causes the fires.
We think that this is being rubbed against the chassis, and they're going to put something there to stop the wires rubbing on the chassis.
So that might be electrical then, as opposed to fuel in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
LTI, the manufacturers, though, say they still don't know the cause. Even so, they're letting those cars they've tested back on the road. And why, we asked the cab licensing authority, has it taken so long to check them? The first fire was in June.
And last night changed things a little bit more, so we've stepped it up a bit, and I guess we'd say it's relatively tough action because we don't take these actions lightly.
But would you not agree that during that time lives have been put at risk?
Fortunately, so far, nobody's been injured. Drivers have got out. If there's passengers been in, they've got out as well.
Not only have they lost money, cabbies are complaining that the Coventry-produced cars have had other faults too.
It's a lot of money, and we're paying a lot of money for these cabs.
How much do they cost?
33,000.
Yeah, obviously it's a concern as to why it happens. If they've got to find out why it happens, otherwise we're all going to be in problems, aren't we?
Almost a third have been checked, with over 400 left. Any of those could go up in flames. Phil Bales, London Tonight.
Well, Bob Oddie represents cab drivers across the capital, and he joins us from Paddington now. Bob, some terrifying tales from cabbies in our report there. How worried are your drivers?
Well, some are obviously worried, but it's important to stress that only 2% of the London taxi fleet has been affected, and the overwhelming majority of those have already been given a clean bill of health or have been booked in for an appraisal. Also, of course, No drivers or passengers have been injured, and some of the previous reports that the cabs have flared up in a very short time have frankly been exaggerated.
Bob, you mentioned the words there, clean bill of health, but even LTI are admitting they don't know what the problem is. I mean, these cabs are going back out onto the road without necessarily a clean bill of health, aren't they?
Well, the information I've been given fairly recently, this afternoon, is that the cabs, quite a lot of cabs, have been checked by the vehicle suppliers and they have been given a clean bill of health and they are back working. So that's the information that I have. And I'm very confident that anyone who hails a taxi can get into that taxi and feel safe.
But we've still got 500, 600 cabs off the road. Are there enough spare cabs to fill in while the cabs are being checked?
There are spare cabs, but there won't be that many spare cabs. And that brings me on to another point. In your report you did mention that drivers' earnings will be covered on their insurance. Unfortunately, I wish that were the case, but it certainly is not. And our association will be pursuing both the manufacturer and the distributors for compensation for all the time that our drivers are losing.
OK, thank you very much for that, Bob Oddy.